Small Business Britain and Amazon Small Business Accelerator have teamed up to support small businesses during the cost of living crisis. Michelle Evans chatted to marketing expert Jarmila Yu to get her tips and tricks on how businesses can market on a budget.
Hello, I am Michelle Evans, founder of Small Business Britain, and I am here today talking to Jarmila Yu, founder of Unique Marketing, about low-cost marketing in a downturn. Jarmila, hello, welcome.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's lovely to see you. Now, look, we are going to talk about keeping your marketing costs low when things are a little bit tough for small businesses. But before we do that, I want to know a bit about you. Tell me about you. How did you get started?
Oh, goodness. I think this is supposed to be a short interview, so I'll go for the shortened version. So I've been working in marketing for some 30 years now, but 7 years ago, I had the idea to set up my own business. So I set up Unique Marketing as a consultancy focused on startups and scale-ups to ensure two things. They put the right strategy in place, so their marketing stand a chance of working, and that they can develop their talent. So the important thing is who they've got doing their marketing in their business.
So, cost of living crisis, it is creating challenges for small businesses. We know that, we hear that a lot. And of course, businesses are looking where they can save money. Costs have gone up, they're looking for areas to save money. One of the concerning things that we have heard is businesses pulling back a bit on their marketing spend. So my first question for you is, are you seeing that? Is that concerning you?
Oh my goodness, Michelle. I think that's something that we see all the time, actually, whether there's an economic challenge or not. But the key points to really think about as a business owner is what's going to be the impact, short, mid and long term, if you do restrict or cut entirely your marketing spend. And we've got, oh my goodness, some 100 years of history now that shows that those that actually cut back potentially don't survive through the downturn or will find it even harder. They'll really struggle to then recover when things come back. So the evidence is there. Don't cut. I mean, I always say to people, come back to me in a year and tell me what you think was the right idea that you had with cutting.
And then that's the problem, isn't it? That we can make decisions in a panic mode because things look like they're going badly wrong. So we're thinking, crisis. So really want businesses just to take a minute, reflect, like you said, 100 years of history and make some good decisions.
Absolutely. And it's something that I think business owners and those leading their marketing functions within their businesses should be doing on a regular basis anyway. So it's almost immaterial whether there is an economic downturn or not. It's about having the right hygiene factors around your strategy, your planning and your implementation so that you're doing the right, whether it's marketing or sales efforts, whatever it might be, you're doing the right activity that's actually going to bring in the right impact.
I love that. I love that because we're ignoring what's going on outside, not getting pulled into conversations about recession and scary things in the media, but focusing on the business, focusing on the fundamentals of the business.
Something actually that might be inspiring and motivating for business owners is to think about the organisations and the businesses that have actually grown up during economic downturns. Over half of Fortune 500s actually started up and have succeeded from that startup point during a recession or a downturn.
Wow.
So whilst you might not be thinking about becoming a Fortune 500, not everyone necessarily starts out that way, there is some inspiration that we can draw from that. It should be very, very motivating.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Of course, not all businesses are going to end up being huge, but not seeing this as always being a negative, that a bad economy doesn't necessarily lead to bad outcomes. So I love that. It's very motivating. But of course, there are challenges. Of course, we can't back away from that, and lots of businesses are facing some tighter numbers. So in that world, when costs are getting tighter, what should small businesses be starting to think about?
Well, back to my earlier point about the Fortune 500s, they didn't worry about starting up a business during bad times. They just got going. And they didn't focus on what they didn't have available to themselves. They focused on what they did have. And that's true for any business. So rather than worry about the assets, the budget, the people, because we know that there's also talent shortage right now, don't focus on and dwell on those things, but focus on what you do have. And the number one thing is your existing installed base, your existing customers that you may have already acquired. And get up close and personal with them. Understand what they're going through, because you as a business are probably going through some challenging times. They are too. So if you can add more value to the product or services that you're already offering them, they're going to be your friend. That's the first thing to think about.
I love that, and it's such a good point that we can get pulled into thinking about the kind of sexy new stuff and actually forget we're probably sitting on some value in the business already, and focusing on that I think is such a great point. So brilliant. We're thinking about our current customers. What should we think about next?
It might be easy to then think about acquiring new ones. But before you start to do that, because it can be very costly to acquire new customers, think about actually how can you go deeper with the ones that you've already got. Okay. It can be 5 to 6 times more expensive to acquire new customers, but it could be that you've got ways of innovating existing products and existing services, adding more value. So really, before you really think about acquiring the new ones, really focus in on the existing.
Very good point. Great. Okay. What do we do next?
Well, oh my goodness, there is just so much that you could do. Double down on the activities that are low cost, that can deliver you a return, that can really improve your profile for the existing customers and also for attracting in the new ones. But not just the new ones. It could well be that you need to add staff to your team as well. So you want to be able to attract in the right talent to come and support you on your mission. So think about things like social media. It's not always about doing paid for campaigns, but ensuring your profiles are up to date. You're actually showing up on the right platforms where your customers are, not going for the vanity projects and going to the social media platforms that you might particularly like, but really thinking about where are your customers spending their time. Again, back to that point, your customers are challenged too. So they're going to be feeling the restriction of time. So where are they spending their time? What platforms are they on? Can you be showing up there? And what is it that you are sharing with them? And always be showing that you're adding value.
I love that. And one of the great things actually that we've really seen in the last few years is all the analytics that we get from these platforms. So you can tell if things are going well. You can tell if you're reaching those customers, can't you?
Oh my goodness, it's so different these days from when I first started out in marketing some 30 years ago, when we didn't have all of these things. The internet was just starting to be born. When I explain that to students that I mentor, or even to my children, they can't imagine a world without digital technology around us. And marketing, oh my goodness, within the marketing space, we've got so much information and intel at our fingertips, and it doesn't need to be costly either. And many of the reports you can get to look at your analytics to see where actually you're getting the engagement, where you're getting the traction, what's driving traffic to your owned channels is hugely valuable to help you decide where to spend your time, and if there is budget that you're going to be investing, where you spend that budget to.
And we want to make sure that that money is working as hard as it possibly can for the business, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just during economic downturns. We should be thinking about this all the time. How can we make our marketing investment work for us? It's only marketing cost when you're spending on the wrong things that isn't delivering you a return on marketing investment. But it's an investment when you're spending on the right things.
I love that. I love that as a distinction. I think that's brilliant. And of course, we sometimes learn good things in a downturn that are great disciplines when things start to pick up again. And if we can put all those things in place now, we're going to be in a really great position, hopefully, when things start to get better later in the year or into next year.
Indeed. Key things to think about there are potential partnerships, collaborations, extending your channels. You may have sales routes to market, but have you explored others that might be relevant? So you might be on one sales platform, but you might not have thought about others. And it's a great time to test them out and test and learn, and then amplify when you can.
You mentioned trying new things, and of course not having all your eggs in one basket feels like a good thing to do when the world is a little bit changing out there. What do you say to clients about diversifying, thinking about going into new directions?
Oh, it's extremely energizing and exhilarating to do that, whether it's your sales channels, whether it's marketing platforms, whether it's thinking about moving into new territories, thinking about a different customer set. It's really about keeping your eyes and ears open for the opportunities that you can jump on and capitalize on. And as entrepreneurs, business owners that we typically are, that's what we're really good at. It's really, again, being open to the opportunity and seizing the day, seizing that moment.
I love that you call it energizing, because of course it's, you know, when you're kind of treading on that treadmill and you keep going each day and you can find that your head drops down, but doing new things can in and of itself give you energy and give you back that enthusiasm for your business.
Absolutely, and it's really, really re-engaging for all of your team as well. Whether you've got a small team or a medium-sized team, whether you've got full-time employees, part-time employees, or a complete hybrid mix of freelancers supporting you, it's a great way to bring everybody together and think, actually, how can we drive up the innovation in what we're doing? And I'm not talking about just tech companies innovating. Every single company can look to be more creative and drive up innovation in what they do.
You mentioned selling on other platforms, and of course, you know, when we are in a world where high streets can close down at a moment's notice, as we saw during COVID, it is, of course, it's a great idea to look at new platforms to sell on. And again, it can give you new opportunities as we start to recover from a downturn. What are you seeing? What should small businesses be thinking about?
Well, I'm actually seeing a lot of small businesses looking at the existing channels that they've developed, their own website, selling on their own platforms, but actually looking at how can they get the reach into the market that they need so desperately. And a lot of organisations, if they are potentially thinking about, let's say, reducing, not cutting, or cutting entirely their marketing spend, they've got to think really creatively about how they can still get the attention to their brand. And the support that's available is phenomenal to help you actually build out that brand visibility, ensuring that you're presented in an on-brand way, guidance along the way. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
And of course, in a world where perhaps the local market is flat, export is potentially an opportunity, and global platforms can help you reach those markets, right?
Indeed, and we're hearing so much more about export and trade, and organisations have probably thought in the past, oh, well, that's not for me. And that's just for the big guys and gals to be exporting, or it's for a certain type of product segment. But actually, we can all think, again, it's about thinking differently and being quite bold and brave, looking for those new markets, looking for new ways that you can reach your new audiences, and think, actually, I could export even services by reaching out into other markets.
Bold and brave, I love that. Yes, we should put that in big letters all over everything. Being bold and brave in 2023, I love that. So, for small businesses who are maybe a little short on cash, definitely a bit short on time, most businesses are micro businesses, what are the two things that they should be focusing on for 2023?
Well, I would say two things they need to focus in on is their brand. Go back to the basics and double check that you are presenting who you are, what you do, who you do it for in the right way. We've seen over the last few years a lot of organisations pivot, transform, but actually have they refreshed the marketing assets, collateral, their website to keep everything in line? So don't miss out on sales today because you're still telling people about who you were yesterday. So that's the first thing, is dive into your brand to make sure you're pitching your brand in the right way. And the second thing is inspect the marketing that you are doing and potentially look at reducing some of the effort you're spending in areas that aren't quite coming up to scratch and getting you the return that you're really after. And look out for the areas that you're starting to see a bit of an uptick, because it could start to show you that actually there's a bit of a trend forming for you. There's been a lot of talk about trends in the marketplace. We've been at the start of the year, lots of different trends lists, and we look very much external, what's happening in the marketplace. But how often do you actually stop and think about your own trends? What are you setting? What are you seeing? What's your data telling you? So trust in the data that you've got your access to at your fingertips.
I love that. Looking inside, the data, of course, we've got so much more analytics on everything that we use these days. Software is so much more built for tiny businesses, and understanding what we are doing, running our own race a little bit, not being pulled off by everything outside and the press and all those, maybe a little bit of scaremongering, thinking about the fundamentals of the business. Well, that sounds like a really great place to end, a very positive thing to end on. A massive thank you, Jarmila, for joining us today. Thank you very much. I'm feeling very positive about marketing in a downturn now, so thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome, Michelle, and everyone should feel positive. Just get out there and put your best foot forward.
And if we wanted to know a little bit more about unique marketing, where would we go?
Oh, goodness, you can check us out online. We have our website, uniquemarketing.com, with a Y at the beginning. Yes. So don't forget to pop that in there. And we are on all the key social platforms.
Thank you so much. There's lots more help and advice for small businesses available on the Small Business Britain website, smallbusinessbritain.uk. So go and check it out. Lots of stuff going on there. And sign up for the newsletter. Be the very first to hear about everything we're doing, including stuff with Jarmila, of course. So we will see you there.